Hi, my name is Adolph Lombardi, orthopedic surgeon from Columbus, Ohio. My father decided to immigrate from Italy to the United States, and this was in 1950. He was working in a small town, farming, construction, and realized that the opportunities to grow were in the United States. I grew up in Philadelphia in a small Italian community. The Italians built their own church and school. I was able to be treated by a wonderful physician, Dr. Anastasia, and that's when I knew I wanted to be a doctor. I would say to my father, I'm going to be like him when I grow up. I want to be a physician.
We got together one day in Havana, Cuba, when the bearded dudes came in and just radically changed the economy and made the country communism, bad news, we left. This country offers unique opportunities to anybody that's really good at what they do, that work real hard, and is so unique in the whole world that there's complete freedom to say your thoughts, to say what you want, and it's just fabulous to live in this country, and I love it in America.
I came after my father's kidnapping back in Colombia. It was a rough time for me and my family, but we made the decision to start my life and pursue orthopedics in the best place on earth, which is USA.
I immigrated from Canada for the good weather in San Diego. It's also for opportunity. Canada is a huge, sprawling country, but we only have about 1/10 of the population of the US. There are restrictions on physician supply, as well as opportunities for PhD professors. My sister obtained her PhD from the University of Toronto in 2002 and was looking for an academic job. UCSD was a perfect fit for her, and I couldn't very well let her move to sunny San Diego, leaving me to shovel snow and deal with freezing rain and black ice. I was very fortunate that San Diego also needed a total joint surgeon at that time.
My mom's American, so I grew up in Mexico, born and raised, and I always wanted to come to the United States. Just wanted to have a better life. Working here as an orthopedic surgeon, it's always been my dream.
I moved to the United States in 1997. The opportunities that I've had here are seldom seen in other countries. The U.S., in my opinion, has been a welcoming community. I do feel that now, even though I am a first-generation immigrant into the U.S., I call it home.
The U.S. has been the land of opportunity for my mother and nurtured us to be successful individuals. Growing up in the U.S. allowed me to pursue my dream of becoming a doctor in spite of barriers, and I look forward to the day where that dream is attainable for everyone.
I came to the United States because I wanted to be the best I could be as an orthopedic surgeon, and there was no better place to do that than the United States.
I really like the diversity of the United States, where our neighbors can be from different countries, different neighborhoods, different socioeconomic backgrounds. And I love that it's such a melting pot where we've really created this new America, where we could all sort of input our culture, our history, and really share in the same day-to-day values.
There's really not a big hierarchy like in Europe, where it's sometimes really difficult, especially in the medical field. So in the US, you just gotta work hard and things will happen.
So I did residency in Argentina, but we had the opportunity to practice here in the US and continue doing what we loved. And I found myself in front of an opportunity where I could do research, I could take care of patients, do complexity, and work with an amazing group of partners in a great environment that allowed me to do things that I was not going to be able to do at that level back home. So we decided to stay, and here we are 8 years later.
My wife is French, and so we're two foreigners in many ways, raising multicultural kids in New York. I think it opens doors and opens opportunities because it is the United States and it is New York.
Since I moved to the US, I've gone through college, went straight through medical school, got opportunities to do residency and fellowship, and now I've been in practice for the past 11 years. I mean, where else would a 17-year-old from a middle-income family in the fringes of Nigeria, where else would you be able to write this story where you start from the bottom, and I guess now we're here.
Hello, everyone, and a good day to you. And as you can see, you've heard some incredible stories about immigration and what this country has done for many of us, including myself as an immigrant. So as you know, usually this session involves inviting an outside speaker who comes here and speaks about a non-orthopedic subject. This year we'll defy the convention, and I will have the next 30 minutes with you. While enduring my company may prove to be a little painful for you, the upside is that we're saving the money that will go back towards education and research that this organization is devoted to. Disclaimers, you will see some photos that I have borrowed from the internet. Of course, the personal pictures are our own. Immigrant is defined as a person who leaves the comfort of their home to take residence in another country. You might ask, why would somebody do that? Why would they leave the relative comfort of their home to go somewhere else to face uncertainties? Based on my research and my readings, immigration falls under 4 categories, mostly. One would be seeking opportunities, education, career, somewhere. Selma Hayek Jimenez was a struggling actress in Mexico who left Mexico to come to the US in 1991, and we know how things turned out for her. Nikola Tesla, 1884, he left his home, modern-day Croatia, to come and start an electric car company, but he was beaten by somebody else called Elon Musk. No, he came here to pursue his dream of building a coil that would deliver millions of volts of electricity. And he, of course, accomplished it. In fact, his transition was when he went to work for Edison in New York, and that was the start of a new generation of electricity, etc. He's actually termed the genius that lit the whole world, and I think that's pretty much true. For college dropouts, you might take comfort in knowing that Tesla actually never finished any engineering degrees while he was in Croatia. Another genius, he was touring the eastern part of the United States when the Second World War broke out, and of course, being a Jewish background, he was in danger to go back to Europe. So he became a United States citizen and surrendered his Austrian passport. And he loved the US, and he stayed in the US. And in one of his letters, he writes, "What strikes a visitor is the joyous, positive attitude to life. The American is friendly, optimistic, and without envy." He loved meritocracy. Why wouldn't he? Melania Trump, a model from Slovenia, she left Slovenia and came here in 1996 to pursue her modeling career. And by all measures, she had a very successful career until next is William Worrell Mayo. He finished a degree in chemistry in Manchester, then came to Lafayette, Indiana, and trained himself to be a doctor. In 1863, he moved to Rochester, Minnesota, that had been just devastated by a major tornado. He, 2 of his sons, and the Sisters of St. Francis built the Mayo Clinic, which we know has transformed modern medicine as we know it, an immigrant. The second would be escaping poverty, and there's many examples of it. Arnold Schwarzenegger, in his memoirs, writes how hard of a childhood he had. And in fact, so much hardship that they couldn't afford to do much at all, and they could not eat very well. And the biggest turning point for his family was when they could afford to buy a refrigerator. Bob Marley, born in Jamaica, very poor family, moved to Newark, Delaware to keep his mother company, worked as a technician at DuPont, worked as a forklift driver in Chrysler factory in Newark, and most of the time that he stayed in America was transitional and very critical for his success as a musician. And I'm sure I'm not going to get this one right, Cyrus, but I will try. Hakeem Olajuwon, he was a 7'4" Nigerian, very, very modest background, left Nigeria to come to the US. Apparently he's coined as the greatest center player. He was the #1 pick in 1984, and he led Houston Rockets to NBA championship in 1994 and 1995. Did I get that right? Serious? Good. Sammy Sosa, terrible, terrible background. His father died when he was age 7. He had to sell oranges, do shoe shining. He and 6 of his siblings and his mother lived in an abandoned hospital in Dominican Republic, extremely poor background, until he moved to the US and was signed up by Texas Rangers at the age of 16. Some people leave their comfort to pursue marriage, matrimony, love. Oscar de la Renta, a fashion designer, which we all know because he's the one that used to dress Jacqueline Kennedy. He apparently left Dominican Republic in pursuit of marriage. Most British women could resist this young, handsome prince, and he had to move to the US to marry a person and immigrate to this country in 2019. The last and perhaps the most important is when you escape danger and death. We've seen the narratives from Hollywood in the books that we have read about the plight of Syrians, millions of them that had to spread across Europe and US. We've read the story of Khmer Rouge killing 1.7 million people in a small country of Cambodia. And now even the ongoing events in the Middle East. These are all geopolitical instability that leads to dislodgement of these people from their homes into other places. Invasion of a sovereign country by another has led to the death of tens of thousands and dislodgement of millions again. And this example probably applies to me also, and most of us that left Iran. So I was born in a very small city in northern Iran called Zanjan in Azerbaijan. I'm the second youngest of 6 siblings. And my hometown, for the most part, is a beautiful place. Great mountains, green pastures, flowing rivers, and I had a very comfortable life. In 1976, the Iranian Revolution started, and at that time, our goal was to oust Shah and bring democracy to the country, or at least that's what we hoped. In 1979, at the mere age of 14, Shah leaves Iran, and Khomeini arrives, and it changes our lives forever. He establishes his theocratic dictatorship, and within 2 years of his regime, all opponents of so-called Islamic Republic are executed in public. 2 of my own classmates were executed. My young brother at the age of 14 was given an execution order also. The activists are all imprisoned. And by the way, that's a practice that still continues in the country of Iran, Islamic Republic. At age 16, Iraq invades Iran. They invade the southern part of Iran, and they launch a massive bombing of the country. And my home in Zanjan also gets hit. So on January 26, 1982, my family, feeling the danger, they decided I need to start a second life and a new journey. And most of us use an unconventional and an unorthodox mode of transport across the mountains in Kurdistan. Rugged, cold, extremely dangerous mountains. Some make it out of Iran, some don't. Eventually, I make my way to United Kingdom, arrive there with a head full of hair. To face what's called uncertainty. Most immigrants face this uncertainty all the time. We fear of failure. There is linguistic issues. Most of us couldn't speak the language of the country we moved to. Financial hardship, for sure. Social circumstances, even finding a place to live is very difficult in the beginning. And some also face some cultural and religious issues. I was no exception. I arrived with little money, couldn't speak much English. Some of you may argue I still can't. No passport, and future was extremely uncertain. To make things worse, I needed an emergency eye surgery, and that also proved to be very difficult. So when you face the uncertainties, you have to develop some survival skills. And most of us as humans, but certainly as immigrants, we have to develop these survival skills in order to be able to survive. The first and the most important is in this lonesome journey, you have to be able to tell friends from foes. And you have to be able to protect yourself because for you, danger is lurking everywhere. Second, you have to stay the course. You have to decide where you want to be and what your mission is. This is an incredible story. Young Kwom, Ukrainian, was told by his father all the time at a young age that KGB is listening to our conversations and nothing is safe even within the wall of our homes. His vision and mission was to create a telecommunication that could not be hacked by KGB nor anybody could listen to. So he leaves Ukraine with his mother, come to New York. His mother starts to work as a cleaner, cleaning homes, and he puts himself through computer science, teaches himself English, all in Brooklyn Library. And we all know what that went. A few years later, he sells WhatsApp for billions of dollars. What is interesting, and I'm not sure this is 100% true, but what's interesting is that the exchange of that $1 billion check took place in Brooklyn Library, and much of that money was donated back to the Brooklyn area because of his gratitude to what that community had provided him. Another survival strategy is you have to believe in yourself because nobody else is going to believe in you other than yourself. So as they say, we are braver than we know, we are stronger than we seem, we are smarter than we think. You just have to assume that everything will be okay. And as the Indian idiom goes, everything will be okay at the end. If it's not okay, it means it's not the end. So my mission was to get to medical school. And that was from day one what I wanted to do. And coming to England was no different. The problem was that I couldn't speak English. I obviously didn't have a passport, and I certainly didn't have enough money to put myself through medical school. So most people told me that making to medical school is impossible. And they were almost right, because out of 5 schools I applied to, I was rejected from 4 of them outright. Then Sheffield, perhaps to humor me, gave me a conditional acceptance in which they wanted me to have 4 A's in my A-levels, biology, chemistry, physics, and mathematics. To put that in the American terms, they wanted me to have perfect SAT, and they wanted me to have an MCAT of 528. The likelihood of me getting those was as good as me being drafted for NBA. Unfortunately, that was proving to be impossible, but all impossibles eventually happen. I was able to get myself into medical school, and Sheffield was the one. But then I dealt with the financial hardship that all of us as immigrants do, and you have to do what it takes to put yourself through school. So I cleaned, I did babysitting, I did waitering, and in fact, my claim to fame is that I was the gardener in St. George's Hill in Weybridge, outside London, in Madonna's house, and they had a beautiful area of rhododendron garden, and I used to see Madonna take her tea on the balcony, except I didn't know who Madonna was. My first experiment with entrepreneurship was when I bought a house for $15,000 in Sheffield and then renovated it, turned it into rooms, rented it to my friends, and 4 of my friends that went through medical school, we all lived in the same house. That helped me somehow to deal with financial hardship. The others, you have to have principles and beliefs. I had one. I was misguided because I was following Che Guevara, the socialism, read all of his writings. I was very keen on knowing about the history of Cuban Revolution until the glitter of democracy and capitalism woke me up. You have to deal with the loneliness, and I developed passion for bicycle and cycling. I was a captain of my team at university. I even cycled from Istanbul to London over 4 weeks, and I did numerous time trials, and that kept me both physically and mentally healthy at that time. So the immigrants and most of us that feel with these issues and endure the hardships, we develop some qualities, which I think is very, very important. We become creative. Who would have thought you could get few spoonsful of yogurt into a tub, call it a chobani, and sell it as much as some people's monthly mortgage? But that was his vision, and fortunately happened, in case you missed my armpits in the previous one. Steve Chen and Javad Karim, they created YouTube. Who would have thought putting videos on a channel would be so lucrative? They did. And then Madeleine Albright, incredible politician in the 70s, very influential in the politics of her home country, Czechoslovakia. She did her PhD on what's called the Prague Spring, which is the uprisings against communism in Czechoslovakia. And she played an incredibly important role in the breakdown of communism across Europe and even in Russia. She always remained very humble and always very proud of her background. As the Chinese proverb says, trees that bear most fruit are closer to the ground. I take comfort in that because I'm closer to the ground than most of you in this room. My another countryman, Dariush Khalidi, came from Shiraz. Incidentally, Shiraz is the birthplace of the grape and also the birthplace of my beautiful wife. And he came and built a beautiful winery, and I'm sure some of you visited. And he, in the reflection of the great empire of Iran, Cyrus the Great, and also all his wines also have the motive of Cyrus the Great. He remains very, very proud and humble and hasn't forgotten his roots. You become benevolent because you have endured so much financial hardship that when you reach money, you really want to give it away. Andrew Carnegie, Scotsman, comes to this country at the age of 16, works in a telegraph company, makes huge amount of money, gives away $350 million of his wealth, which is equivalent to about $9.6 billion of today, 90% of his wealth to libraries, science, and world peace. And we all know the Carnegie. Another countryman, Parviz Omidyar, co-founder of eBay, who has given a lot of money to preventing human trafficking, world peace, and transparent and truthful media. Immigrants work hard. That's what they have to do. And this article by Barbara Whitehead talks about the hardships that immigrants have to deal with and what makes them so industrious. And if you look at this country, highly skilled immigrants drive U.S. innovation, as you've seen in that Forbes report. U.S. immigrants, by this report in Bloomberg, generate 36% of this nation's innovation. 40% of Nobel Prize that's been handed over in this country has been given to people that were born outside the U.S., but they call themselves U.S. citizens. That's also true across Europe, in particular in England. Our leaders, great leaders before us, have recognized the importance of immigration. President Ronald Reagan devoted a portion of his final speech at the White House to issue of immigration. This is what he said. This, I believe, is one of the most important sources of America's greatness. We lead the world because unique among nations, We draw our people, our strength from every country and every corner of the world. And by doing so, we continuously renew and enrich our nation. It was President Reagan who also coined the term, the shining city on top of a hill, or the beacon of hope in a world of shadows and darkness. President Bush, a previous speaker, and now I'm sure most of you are wishing that he was here. President Bush, he's the one who devoted his time, actually drawn incredible portraits of very influential immigrants that have woven the fabric of this society and the part they have played in the success of this nation. You also have to be lucky, or as we call in Turkish, kismet. This is basically an interjection between inspiration and opportunities, being in the right place at the right time, in other words. My interest in research, for example, was engendered by a professor of pathology back in the year 1983, and it took me 2 years to publish my first paper, because in those days we used to rely on what's called index medicus, which is foreign to all the young generation in this room, because I'm sure they like ChatGPT as opposed to that. My first introduction to another great transition in my life was when I traveled to Mayo Clinic to work with Dr. Mark Bolander in his lab doing a higher degree molecular biology. And that certainly proved to be very important to me, understanding science, how to formulate ideas, and how to pursue them in a scientific way. I was very fortunate to bask in the glory of Mayo Clinic for many years and benefit from the wisdom, mentorship, and friendship of many people, some of whom are in this room. I was also very fortunate, thanks to my great friend and mentor, Dr. John Callahan, to spend 2 weeks with Dr. Ignacio Ponsetti, amazing gentleman from Portugal, who we know has changed the way we treat club feet and pediatric conditions. He, in those 2 weeks, taught me how to think about formulating ideas and how to conduct scientific research. He had published a paper in 1955 in the Journal of Science implicating reactive nitrogen species as the culprit for contractures and tendinopathies. And it took us 30 years to come to the same conclusions as he had done in 1955. Another giant from whose wisdom and mentorship I benefited was Professor Gans when I spent 6 months in Bern with him. One of the greatest transitions in my life, which I will always remain very grateful to, was going to Rothman Institute in the year 2003 to an open arm by Dick Rothman and great friends like Peter Sharkey and others. These 20 years that I've spent at Rothman has transitioned me into who I am today. They gave me the opportunity to pursue my passion and dream of doing research and being a clinician scientist. Having a great laboratory built by Rocky Tuan and then later enhanced by Irving Shapiro and Noreen Hickok allowed me to write grants to work with these brilliant scientists, and was also a beneficiary of a grant from OREF and JBJS, the first year of clinician scientists, that supplemented my salary and allowed me to have the autonomy to pursue a passion, and my passion being the field of infection. And now, as I transition into the next juncture of my life, going to Turkey and Barcelona, I'm surrounded by great friends, some of whom are in this room, which I'm sure they will hold my hand and take me through the challenging times that lie ahead. But I certainly remain very, very excited. The greatest decision I have made in my life is to marry Fariba, my wife of 28 years. I'm sure she'll have a different perspective on that. And she has been incredible, kept me company every step of the way, both literally and figuratively. We climbed Mount Kilimanjaro together in February, and has given me 2 brilliant and fantastic children who actually happen to be also my best friends. In fact, Nusha is the one that helped me with this presentation and has made a video which I'll play at the end. And Sirius, being a great athlete, he endures my bad golf and he still comes out and plays golf with me. And I enjoy being in their company. And I'm also very fortunate to have a very wise younger brother who's always the wisest and the most talented person that provides advice. So what have I learned? In these years, I've learned that unfortunately in life, there's no silver medal. There's no second place, because sometimes that second place means not surviving. I've learned not to fear hard work or not to fear starting a new journey. As Tim Robbins put it, the impossible journey is the one that you never started. So new journeys bring a great deal. I've learned that depth of knowledge is better than breadth of knowledge. Having passion in one area and concentrating your effort in that area makes you have a better potential to have an impact on the society. Eliud Kipchoge and Michael Phelps are the same height. Michael Phelps' trunk is 35% longer than Kipchoge's, and reverse is true about legs. That makes Michael Phelps a brilliant swimmer, and it makes Kipchoge a great runner. Maybe we all have talents, and we need to recognize our talents. My message today is not about irresponsible immigration. It's not about having porous borders. In fact, quite the contrary. I think porous borders and irresponsible immigration hurts the like of these people that you just saw in that video, who want to come to this country in a responsible manner. They have well intentions to help this society and serve this profession. So I think we need to have responsible immigration, and we need to hold the values that our forefathers have written at the base of the Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shores. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Our profession is fortunate to have men and women that have come from every corner of the world to settle in this country. And by pursuing their dreams and passion, they have propelled the society and the profession forward. These intellectuals have made a mark in the profession that has shuddered beyond the borders of the United States and benefited patients across the globe. Maybe we can have the music up a little bit. Whether it's the invention of the highly cross-linked polyethylene, invention of modern design knee system, or non-operative management of club feet, all of these people have added value. These men and women have powered in their plight to advance the field of medicine and also added value to the society. We've all benefited from their leadership and dedication. And now the young generation of surgeons and scholars will continue that mission forward and lead us into a new era. The brilliance of the new generation will take us to new heights. We will continue to be the shining city on top of the hill and the beacon of light in the darkness. The new generation of thinkers will take us into higher grounds and ensure that this country continues to be the leader in every aspect of humanity. I'm honored and privileged to line up next to these men and women and serve our profession. Thank you for giving me the privilege and the honor to serve this incredible organization as your 33rd president. We have an amazing organization, one that advocates for and operates on the basic principles of inclusivity and diversity. An organization that's agnostic to race, creed, breed, religion, sex, or sexual preferences. An organization that strives to unite us all under the umbrella of humanity to care for patients. Thank you for allowing me into your country. Thank you for opening your door and letting me and my countrymen and women to escape the danger and darkness. Thank you for not executing me for my beliefs, and thank you for not beating my sisters to coma because of their dress code. Thank you for your mentorship. Thank you for your friendship, and thank you for your generosity. Thank you for letting me chase my dream in this country. And thank you for being there always when I needed you. And then may the breeze of democracy wave the flag of this great nation forever. Thank you.